The Delta variant that is fast spreading has been identified in a number of districts across Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is currently under quarantine curfew, but invariably this has cost many people their livelihoods and affected the economy of Sri Lanka. Good evening. This is Primetime News on TV1. Before we take a look at those stories in detail, here are your headlines for tonight.
Newsfirst headlines. Main sponsor.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
Delta variant detected in a number of districts. Ministry of Health updates health guidelines. Closure of the country affects about 15 billion rupees worth of production in the country daily. 2,000 rupee allowance for people who lost their livelihoods. Price of 60 medical drugs increased by 9%. Maximum price set for medical equipment. Punish perpetrators of the April 21st attacks. Silent protests across the country.
මේ කුමන්ත්‍රණයේ පිටිපස්සේ ඉන්න අය කවුද කියලා ඔබ වහන්සේම පෙන්වන්න ස්වාමීනි.
Newsfirst headlines. Main sponsor.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
That was some footage that was captured from various parts of the island today. The quarantine curfew that was imposed at 10 last night will continue to be in effect until 4 a.m. on the 30th of this month. The Sri Jayawardhanapura University has said that the Delta variant of the COVID-19 virus has been detected from several districts in the island.
The University of Sri Jayawardhanapura confirmed that the Delta variant is spreading in Colombo and its suburbs. The dominant variant in Colombo is the Delta variant with 3 mutations that were first discovered in Sri Lanka. According to the latest report by the university, the Delta variant is spreading in the districts of Vaunia, Ratnapura, Gampaha and all districts in the central province. Additionally, the Delta variant has also been detected in the Jaffna, Kilinochchi, Trincomalee, Polonnaruwa, Ampara, Hambantota, Matara, Galle, Kalutara, Kurunegala and Mullaitivu districts. 195 COVID-19 related deaths were reported in the island yesterday. The Government Information Department announced that these figures were confirmed by the Director General of Health Services on the 19th of August. 151 of the deceased were above the age of 60. According to figures released yesterday, the total number of COVID-19 related deaths in Sri Lanka stands at 6,985. The number of COVID-19 patients receiving treatment exceeded 50,000 yesterday. The total number of patients receiving treatment as of yesterday was 54,212.
New health guidelines.
The Director General of Health Services, Dr. Asela Gunawardena, published a new set of guidelines. These guidelines will be in effect until 4 a.m. on the 30th of August. According to the guidelines, only one person from a family may leave the house at any given time for a specific task. People above the age of 65 and those suffering with other underlying conditions are not to leave their homes unless for a medical reason. Private gatherings for any reason are prohibited. Labourers in the construction sector and other daily wage earners can continue to operate subject to strict health guidelines. Transport services will only operate to carry out deliveries, transport patients and other approved essential services. Banks will operate for a limited number of monetary transactions, while online payments are encouraged. Permission has been granted for grocery stores and supermarkets to accept online orders and deliver goods to the public. The District COVID-19 Coordinating Committee has been vested with the power to decide on opening shops for essential purposes. Bakery items can only be delivered and shops cannot be opened. Permission granted for staff to be called to provide services at water, power, fuel and gas stations as well as garages. Permission granted to carry out activities in the agriculture, animal husbandry and fisheries sectors without violating inter-district travel restrictions and subject to strict health regulations. All funerals except those of COVID-19 related deaths must be carried out within 24 hours and only members of the family are allowed to attend the funeral. Regular clinics at hospitals will not be conducted, while medicine will be delivered to homes of registered patients. Private and state-run pharmacies will remain open. In addition, Grama Seva officers and all other officials can continue to operate. Activities of courts can be carried out for essential purposes as per the decision of the Judicial Services Commission. Activities of provincial, district and regional secretariats can be conducted with only essential staff. Import and export factories and local production factories can continue to operate with minimum staff. Factory workers and owners can travel across district boundaries. Human resource officials of other private and public entities can be called to work through a letter issued by the head of the company or institution.
Special vaccination program during quarantine curfew. Army Commander General Shavendra Silva says that everyone above the age of 60 who have not yet received a single dose of a vaccine must immediately be vaccinated. We informed the Ministry of Public Administration to get in touch with Grama Seva officers and located people above the age of 60 and have not received a single dose of a vaccine during these 2 days. They have been informed to launch a special vaccination program for them from the 23rd. We request people above the age of 60 who have not yet received a dose of the vaccine to come forward. We will come to your home and administer the vaccine to you. Although quarantine curfew is in effect, the vaccination drive in the country is continuing uninterrupted. The vaccination centre set up at the Vihara Mahadevi Park in Colombo continued to operate today. The mobile vaccination program conducted by the Army continued in Mount Lavinia today. People above the age of 60 as well as those above the age of 30 were vaccinated at the centre set up at the Bandaranayaka Vidyalaya in Payagala, Kalutara. A special vaccination program for pregnant mothers is conducted at the office of the Horana MOH. Administering the second dose of the Moderna vaccine in Kandy began on the 18th of this month. This vaccination program was conducted at the Girls' High School in Kandy today. The second dose of the Moderna vaccine was administered to the public at the Kubiangura Temple in Matale. A vaccination program was successfully conducted in Uppuweli, Trincomalee.
For your country and for yourself, get vaccinated.
This is a personal appeal from me to all of you who have not been vaccinated. Please go get the vaccination. It is readily available. This is the only way we can minimize the effect of this pestilence, maybe even completely be free of it. So go ahead. If you have got your first jab, go for your second jab. If you have not got a jab, go and get vaccinated now.
A message to all senior citizens from News First.
How will the quarantine curfew affect the economy?
When a situation like this arises in the country, the growth and gross domestic production is affected. The gross domestic product of the country reduces. There is a drop of about 15 billion rupees worth of national production. This impacts our national figures. Our economic factors are reduced. When these figures weaken, there are consequences. If we are to reduce the losses caused by closing down the country, we need to resume operations in the country as soon as possible. We know that life is very important, but livelihoods are also important. When you make a decision, those decisions are mostly determined by your monthly salary. Sometimes we might not be able to feel that pain. That is the reason why we need to make this lockdown short. If not, we will have to suffer on many fronts. The government has decided to provide an allowance of 2,000 rupees to families who have lost their livelihoods. The Director General of the Samruddhi Authority said the discussions on how the allowance will be distributed are underway.
උපරිම ගියොත් 14ක් සඳහා තමයි 2000ක දීමනාවක් 5000 දීමනාව ලැබුණ අයට ලබලා දෙන්න තීන්දුව කරලා තියෙන්නේ. මොකද මේක ප්‍රායෝගික ප්‍රශ්නයක් දැන්.
This is a practical problem. 5,000 rupees is not enough. 2,000 rupees is also not enough. If we continue to close down our country, we will have to take money from one place and give it to those who don't have enough.
නැති තැනට දෙන්න වෙනවා.
මගේ වැටුප මම පරිත්‍යාග කරා.
I donated my salary. If we are to formulate a program to provide concessions to families who have lost their modes of income and people who are helpless, we need donations like that given the current economic situation of the country. I am of the view that not only parliamentarians and public representatives, but all rich people in the country should donate half or a portion of their wealth for this. When the tax on sugar was reduced to 25 cents, companies close to the government brought down sugar needed in the country for 6, 7 or 8 months. Now, sugar is being sold at between 160 and 170 rupees. When their friends are enjoying a profit of 50 to 60 rupees per kilo of sugar, they are saying that salaries of public servants might have to be slashed. If the money earned through the sugar scam can be confiscated, then the government will not need more money. Where is the finance minister with 7 brains? They did say that he has 7 brains. After he took over as the Minister of Finance, we did not see him controlling the prices of goods, stopping the people of this country from being scammed, or curbing the spread of the pandemic and bringing down antigen kits and PCR test kits, and setting up intermediate treatment facilities to save people. We would like to ask Minister Basil Rajapaksa, where are the decisions that you made?
Distribution of essential food items during quarantine curfew. Minister of Trade Bandula Gunawardena, who inspected wholesale shops in Peta, said there were no interruptions to the trade and transport of food items.
තමන් විසින් එදිනෙදා ජීවත් වෙන අයට තමන්ගේ ස්වයං රැකියාව සඳහා යන්න ගියද ඒ ප්‍රතිපත්ති මාලාවේ තියෙනවා. ඒකේ වැඩ නැහැ කියලා පොලිස් මාත්‍යාල ඔක්කොම බයිනවා. මම ඒක කතා කරන්නේ. බඩගින්නට අවශ්‍ය කරන බොහොමයක් දේ.
The wholesale stores in Peta, where much of the distribution of essential food items that are imported takes place, will be open through this lockdown period. Any shop owner or businessman has the right to close down their shops and self-isolate themselves. The police will not intervene and force them to open their shops. If anyone wants to transport essential food items in a lorry to Madra, Gaul, Ampara or Dehiata Kandiya, you can get permission for that from the police. Inform the Ministry of Trade. We will speak to the IGP and sort that issue out. Satrasa stores will continue to remain open. The majority of the wise citizens of the country understand that we cannot close down everything and continue our lives. Therefore, we should act patiently and responsibly as a country in the face of this global calamity.
මේ රටේ අතිමහත් බහුතර ප්‍රබුද්ධ ජනතාවට අවබෝධයක් තියෙනවා. සියලු දේ වහලා ජීවත් වෙන්න බැරි බව. ඒ නිසා මේ අවස්ථාවේ ඉවසීමෙනුත් වගකීමෙනුත් රටක් විදිහට කටයුතු කරන්න ඕනේ මේ ලෝක ව්‍යසනයේ හමුවේ.
However, the farmers who brought their produce to economic centres located across the country were severely inconvenienced as there were no buyers to purchase their produce. Farmers were bringing in their produce to the Manik Kumbura Special Economic Zone in Kadugastota since last evening, but no buyers were present to purchase their produce.
We are left helpless. Vegetables worth 40 million is piled up here with no one to purchase them. They should have informed us of this decision at least a day earlier. Today the farmers are suffering. What are we to do with this stock of vegetables? The government must intervene and purchase this stock. That is what we request.
The Dambulla dedicated economic zone was open today, but a very limited number of traders were present at the economic zone to purchase the produce of farmers.
Vegetables worth 1 to 1.2 million have been stocked at the economic zone today. The government has informed us to shut down everything from tomorrow. I think keeping the economic zones open is the better option. We have received instructions to shut down economic zones from tomorrow onwards, but the traders associations and farmers have requested us to keep them open, citing their produce will be rotten in 2 to 3 days. We have to understand their plight. Therefore, we have forwarded their requests to the government.
Although the Narahenpeta Economic Centre was open today, many supermarkets and shops were closed in the area. However, the Kappetipola Special Economic Centre was not open today.
With the notice we received from the ministry, we have decided to open the Kappetipola Special Economic Centre next Monday. We would like to sincerely inform all traders that the economic centre will be closed today and tomorrow.
The maximum price of 60 medical drugs has been increased. Minister of Health Kehelia Rambukwella had made the price revision by amending the extraordinary Gazette notification dated the 15th of May 2019. Thereby the maximum price of 60 medical drugs including albendazole, amoxicillin and insulin has been increased. The Ministry of Health said that the move was in response to the increase in the dollar exchange rate against the rupee. A maximum price has been set for blood glucose monitoring strips, intraocular lenses, bare metal stents and drug-eluting stents. According to the Gazette notification, the maximum price of a unit of blood glucose monitoring strips has been set at 3,433 rupees and 50 cents. The maximum price of a single strip has been set at 62 rupees and 13 cents. The maximum price of bare metal stents has been set at 29,920 rupees and 50 cents, while the maximum price of a drug-eluting stent has been set at 130,800 rupees. More details on the price amendments can be accessed on our website www.newsfirst.lk. 198 COVID-19 deaths have been reported for today. Now this has increased the total number of deaths related to COVID-19 in Sri Lanka to above 7,000. The total number of COVID-19 deaths reported in Sri Lanka thus far stands at 7,183. Meanwhile, another 2,785 COVID-19 patients were detected in the island today. Moving on in more local news, the opposition convened a media briefing today to raise their concerns on the President's address to the nation yesterday and the prevailing situation in the country.
තුමාගේ කතාවේ highlight වෙච්ච ප්‍රධානතම කාරණාවක් තමයි එන්නත්කරණය සඳහා ප්‍රමුඛතාවය ලබා දුන්නාය කියන එක.
The highlight of the President's address to the nation yesterday was that the country has prioritized the COVID-19 vaccination drive. MPs of the ruling faction had, however, brought in the Ayurvedic tonic into the parliament as well. The ruling faction claimed that the opposition was against indigenous and local treatment. If the government wanted to import the vaccines as soon as possible, it should have raised a purchase order and invoice to the relevant companies and made an advance payment. If the country brought in a larger consignment of vaccines, when it imported 500,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine along with the Covishield vaccine from India, we would have carried out a much faster vaccination drive. It serves no purpose if 10 million people have been administered the first dose, while only 3 million have been administered the second dose. This is because the remaining group were not given the second dose. The people who had died after being administered only the first dose of the vaccine were those who did not receive the jab because the government focused on vaccinating those above the age of 60 first. The government must bear the responsibility for the lives lost due to this virus.
වර්තමාන රජය ඒ මියගිය ජනතාවගේ ජීවිතවලට වක්කීම බාර ගන්න ඕන කියන එක කියන්න ඕන කියලා කිව්වා. හැබැයි කොරෝනා එන්නත ගේන්න කියලා.
It was this government that decided to delay the importation of vaccines for around a year after the pandemic began. This government was under the impression that they could fool the virus just like they fooled the people of this country. They initially said that those above the age of 60 should not be vaccinated. The World Health Organization, however, said otherwise. But our government discouraged that. The government is now trying to pass the blame onto the teachers and protests. But the second and third wave of the COVID-19 outbreak was after Ukrainians came into our country.
යුක්‍රේන් සංචාරකයින් හරහා තමයි මේ දෙවනි තුන්වෙනි රැලි වලට මම කියන්න ඕන උනේ.
Several factions warned us that a shortage in medicine could arise in the future. Based on the appreciation of the dollar rate against the Sri Lankan rupee, the maximum retail price of controlled drugs should have increased by 20%. However, the expert committee of the National Medicines Regulatory Authority recommended that the maximum retail price of controlled drugs be increased by 9%. The Gazette notification was issued yesterday based on this.
The production and distribution operations of Laughs Gas has been normalized. The company will be issuing gas cylinders to the market at the amended rate. A 363 rupee increase for a 12.5 kilogram Laughs domestic gas cylinder was approved recently.
The refilling of Laughs gas cylinders resumed yesterday. Both Laughs Gas and Litro will be able to normalize the supply to the market in a few days. So there is no need to have any fear of a shortage. We received a shipment of gas yesterday. We began filling these gas cylinders and they are continuing. We will act responsibly to continue to provide these services. Meanwhile, the Minister of Trade reiterated that no permission has been given for prices of Litro gas cylinders to be increased. Litro Gas is supplying gas under a concessionary scheme of the government. The government has given a massive concession in considering the plight of the general public because of the reserves of Litro Gas has reduced drastically. However, after considering the situation of the people right now, we have not granted permission to increase the price of Litro Gas.
Leading conglomerates in Sri Lanka with a diverse portfolio of business interests appear to have weathered the COVID-19 storm.
The figures reported show not only their ability to sustain their investments, protect their brands, but also to remit taxes to the treasury and make healthy contributions to the pension funds. Bluechips like John Keel's Holdings and Haley's PLC have in the process continued to support their large workforce throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. Reporting combined profits of over 17.9 billion LKR, the two groups directly employ over 48,000 people. Throughout the pandemic, without any furlough scheme in place, large corporates have been able to continue to provide employment and benefits to their workforce. These two groups alone have contributed over 6.7 billion rupees as taxes to the treasury. As the economy as well as the health sector both attempt to overcome the pandemic in two fronts, Newsfirst continues to monitor the developments of various sectors in the country while we move to another phase of battling the pandemic.
Sri Lanka has already lost many of our warriors who are battling an invisible enemy, the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, despite the threat to their lives, our healthcare workers continue to press on. Their sacrifice will not be forgotten.
Dr. Gayan Dantanarayana, better known as the Golden Doctor by his peers and loved ones, was the first doctor in the country to fall prey to the deadly COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Gayan, a man filled with limitless humane qualities, served at the surgical unit of the Colombo North Teaching Hospital till his demise and had previously served at the neonatal care unit at the Ampara Hospital. He was famed for nursing many children to full health. Dr. Gayan, who tested positive for COVID-19 while working at the Colombo North Teaching Hospital, was admitted first to the IDH and thereafter the Karapiti Hospital in Galle. However, on the 2nd of February this year, 32-year-old Dr. Gayan Dantanarayana lost his battle against COVID-19.
My son was very talented. He was 16 when he got selected to the university. Wherever he served, he did so to the best of his ability. He was very affectionate towards children. He was resilient. His patients adored him because he never gave up on them.
To all heroes employed in the healthcare sector, we salute your relentless dedication and determination.
Day by day, healthcare workers are getting infected from these infections. In order to counter that, as Government Medical Officers Association, we have requested Director General of Health Services in the recent meeting to explore the possibilities of administering third booster dose for the healthcare workers to increase their immunity and to prevent getting them infected in a massive number. So far we have faced 3 deaths of doctors, and also doctors are day by day getting infected. If you analyze the data, we have to say the number of healthcare workers nearly 80 to 100 per day being infected. That causes severe reduction, dramatic reduction in the human resources of healthcare capacity. So that itself, and on the other hand, we are struggling to manage the massive flow of the patients where major hospital has exceeded their capacity.
We will be back after this short commercial break. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Primetime News on TV1.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
Bellboy's got you covered. Download Bellboy today to get all your household appliance fixing and repairs done. Now available on Android and iOS.
Back to the news. Chairman of the Petroleum Trade Union, Anandapalitha, was arrested by the Criminal Investigations Department this evening.
The police headquarters in a release said that the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation lodged a complaint against Anandapalitha, who falsely claimed that the CPC has stocks of fuel adequate for only 11 days and that a fuel crisis might arise in the country in the future. The release further notes that the CPC had requested the Criminal Investigations Department to launch an investigation into this matter, following which it was revealed that the individual had made false claims. The release said thereafter the CID took steps to arrest the individual in Vattala and that the suspect will be produced before the Halsdorf Magistrates Court tomorrow.
The National Catholic Proclamation Committee organized a silent protest across the country today, demanding for the identities of the masterminds of the April 21st attacks to be revealed. The protest was named the Silent Black Protest.
The bells tolled and a special service was held for the victims of the April 21st attacks at the main church at the Archbishop's house. The service was held on the auspices of His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit.
ඉන්දියන් රහසොත්තු සේවයෙන් ලබා දුන්නේ අවවාදයේ හතර පාරක් වනාත විල්ලුවේ ලැක්ටෝවත්.
The information was given by the Indian Secret Service on 4 occasions. The incidents at Laktowatta in Vanathavilluwa, the vandalizing of statues in Mavanalla, all foretold the coming of something very dangerous. But the officials were stuck in their own selfishness and stubbornness. They swept these matters under the carpet. They allowed these people to die. It was not that God didn't save us. These people betrayed God, betrayed the law for their greed to stay in power, for their greed to rise to power, and they ignored all of these warnings. They prevented officials from bringing the people responsible for these incidents before the law. They misused their power. Although God tried to reveal this, the people did not pay attention. People are trying to sweep this under the carpet and act like nothing happened. We believe that God will not allow this to happen. Even now, God is revealing to us in various ways the identities of other groups behind this attack. Powerful people are attempting to cover this up, but they will not be able to do that. We need the support of God to reveal this truth to the entire world. We need to stand with our people when we deliver a sermon. The people need the blessings of God. It was said that there is a grand conspiracy behind the April 21st attacks. We plead with God to reveal this conspiracy to the people. Even in the past, you have punished criminals in our country. Lord our God, reveal to us the people behind these attacks. If anyone is trying to sweep this matter under the carpet, stop them.
මේ ක්‍රියාවලිය යටපත් කරන්නට කවුරු හරි උත්සාහ කරනවා නම් ඔවුන්ව බොඳ කරලා දාන්න ස්වාමී.
A special service was held at the Kochikade St. Anthony Shrine in an attempt to remind the authorities that justice should be served to the victims of the April 21st attacks. Several houses and shops in the area hoisted black flags. A Holy Mass was also held at the St. Sebastian's Church in Katuapitiya, Negombo today. Following the Holy Mass, victims of the April 21st attacks were called to memory before the memorial that was built at the St. Sebastian's Church in Katuapitiya. A silent protest hoisting black flags was staged thereafter. The victims of the April 21st attack that occurred at the St. Sebastian's Church in Katuapitiya were buried in this cemetery. Black flags were hoisted in shops and other significant landmarks in several areas, including Katuapitiya, Katana, Kandavala and Jayala as well.
Monsignor Neville Joe Pereira from the Vatican said the attention of His Holiness has been drawn towards the April 21st attacks.
අපි ලංකාවේ සියලුම තත්ත්වය වතිකානයට දැනුම් දී හමාරයි.
We have informed the Vatican of the situation in Sri Lanka. His Holiness Pope Francis, General Secretary of the Vatican Cardinal Parolin, and the President of the Pontifical Council for Justice and Peace of the Vatican Cardinal Turkson have been informed of the situation in Sri Lanka. The Vatican will respond to this soon.
ලංකාවේ තත්ත්වය දැනුම් දීලා තියෙන්නේ. ඉතින් අපිට ළඟදීම වතිකානයෙන් පිළිතුරු ලැබේවි.
As a government, the President instructed the security forces to identify the mastermind behind these attacks. 200 to 300 suspects have been placed under remand custody. A cabinet minister of the government of good governance is also in remand custody. They are not allowed to be bailed until the case is closed. This will continue in the future as well. Despite the ongoing investigation, certain individuals are in a hurry. This is not a good thing. Regardless of hoisting black flags or staging protests, I would like to say that the President will bring to book those responsible for the April 21st attacks. The Taliban has offered an amnesty and promised not to harm any foreigners and requests the Taliban to continue honouring that commitment. The Foreign Ministry says that it is happy to see the pledges given by the Taliban that the women in Afghanistan can work and girls can go to school following the Islamic tradition. It says the government of Sri Lanka takes note in the pronouncement made by the Taliban that an all-party mechanism will be established to take the country forward. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs says now that the Taliban is in power, the government of Sri Lanka requests that the law and order situation be stabilized and the safety, security and dignity of all people in Afghanistan be safeguarded. It adds that as a member of SAARC, Sri Lanka is prepared to play its role to assist any regional efforts in this regard. As per the data made available by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, a total of 86 Sri Lankans had been living in Afghanistan. 46 people among them have been evacuated thus far. As of today, 20 Sri Lankans are expecting to return from Afghanistan and the Sri Lankan Foreign Ministry is making arrangements for their evacuation. Meanwhile, 20 other Sri Lankans have expressed their willingness to stay back in Afghanistan.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News on TV1 for tonight. But before we go, we have to remind you that the unprecedented threat posed by the COVID-19 pandemic in Sri Lanka is far from over. And as such, it is important and advisable that you get vaccinated as soon as possible at any vaccination centre available across the island. And that's a wrap of Primetime News on TV1. I'm Charlotte Benedict for the News First team with our sign language interpreter for tonight, Brian De Cruz. Take care, stay home, stay safe. God bless.